The following program is rated D for dumb.
That is true, Harry. This particular episode is especially rated D for dumb. And now, not a voicemail from Harold, not a Voices of Harold, a voicemail from I don't know who.
To renew your warranty before we close the file. If you are interested in renewing your auto warranty now, please press 5 now, or press 9 to be removed from our list.
I have no idea what they're talking about. None. No idea what that was. I get these messages on my home phone all the time. Warranty, something service. It's ridiculous. You know it's not ridiculous? Going for a drive with Hal and Philly. Come on, Hal, let's do it.
9 o'clock, I'm bored to death. Smoke so much I can smell my own breath. My baby left me, my best friend's not at home. Can't get that woman off my mind. I've never been the broody kind, but there's still one thing makes me come alive. Yeah, I'm gone for a drive.
The following podcast is rated D for dumb. You're listening to Dumbing It Down with Dave, the fastest podcast on earth. Listen to Dave commute to and from work on the New York State Thruway in his 2008 Kia Rio LX. He talks about pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. Join Dave as he asks and tells you how life ought to be. And now, here's Dave.
That is correct. Thank you, Alex Exum. Alex Exum, E-X-U-M, alexexum.com. Does live talk on Tuesday nights. Thank you very much. You guys want to go for a drive? That's good. Well, we're going to dumb it down and go for a drive. So thank you, Alex. Thank you, Hal. And thank you, Linda from Awesome Insanity Surfers for the voices of Harry and David and all the people that introduced the show as rated D for dumb and other comments that we'll hear from time to time. We just created a new batch thanks to Linda's creativity. They sound fantastic. Her creativity and her technical expertise. So while McCall, Idaho is burning, she's sitting in her house recording. So I don't think she's fiddling. I don't know if she fiddles. But listen, when everything around you is going to hell, what are you going to do? I do a podcast. So thank you for tuning in to Dumbing It Down with Dave. I really do appreciate it. Today is October 8th. 8th. Today is the 8th, and it is 2:35 p.m. I am northbound on the New York State Thruway. I just left my hometown of Saugerties. More specifically, I just left McDonald's, where I lazily pulled into the driveway over there, the 2-car driveway they have now. It used to be 1 car. Now it's 2 cars. That's how much business they're doing. 2 driveways they have in the little town of Saugerties. It's right off the exit 20, so it is a very convenient and lucrative spot. But I lazily purchased a cup of coffee and an apple pie, which they've put in this humongous paper bag. They could have just handed me the pie. And the pie is so small. For the $1 I'm paying, I really think it should be twice the size, or 2 for $1. Everybody likes a bargain. They must be making 99 cents on these apple pies. So anyway, it is, in fact, let's go to the weather report. It is, in fact, a beautiful day in New York State. Yesterday was a kind of an okay day, a beautiful day. I didn't do a podcast then, but then this crazy storm came through, knocked out power, and all that other, knocked down tree limbs, and I forget what speeds they say the winds were, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. I have no idea, but that was an interesting little burst of time. As the time that we're living now on the planet Earth, I'm trying to segue, is a very interesting burst of time where everything is calm. And then all of a sudden something just comes through and disrupts everything. So maybe that's the segue. Maybe I should stick with that. My property ended up okay, by the way. I did just not so lazily pick up a whole bunch of sticks in my backyard. Branches and tree limbs that fall. And it's interesting because I walk to my backyard, I look around, and life is also like this. I think, in my opinion, in my pragmatic opinion, life is a lot like this. For me, especially. I wonder if it is for you. You can always comment here in the Spreaker chat box a reply to the thing I'm about to say or the things I'm about to say. You can also tweet me at dumbwithdave, D-U-M-B with Dave. You can email me at dumbingitdownwithdave at yahoo.com. Again, dumbing with a B, dumbingitdownwithdave at yahoo.com. You are absolutely 100% more than welcome to commently and freely. What did I say? To comment politely and freely. Wow, I feel like I said something else. I feel like I say politely and freely. No, comment politely and freely on the Dumbing It Down with Dave Facebook group. That's a really great place to go comment, especially if you're on Spotify or any of these apps that don't have a comment section. That's your way to engage with the show. The more engagement we get, the better the show gets, especially when I do listeners' comments, when I do a bonus review show, which I've done plenty of lately. Probably too many of them. But I have this obsessive desire to catch up. So comment on this if you'd like. So life to me is a little bit like this, and it's a little bit like this very often. Or maybe it's a lot like this, but only from time to time. It's one of those two. Again, I'll let you decide. So this big storm comes through, right? It's a big mess. The wind, the rain, the leaves, the tree limbs, the garbage pails, whatever, the beach chairs, everything's all strewn all over the place. So you go to your backyard, like I did just now, just about a half hour ago, and I see these things sticking out of the ground. They're very obvious, tree limbs. Okay. I go, yeah, there's like 3 or 4 tree limbs. Go pick up the tree limbs. I have this wood pile. I just throw it in there. That's my, miscellaneous pile if I want to do a bonfire or, whatever. Just, a little campfire. I have all these twigs and little limbs. And they're all, by hand. They're not huge where I need, assistance. They're all big enough that I can pick them up by hand and I put them in the pile. So I did that. I walked around my entire backyard. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 big pieces that I could see very quickly, very visually, boom, very visually quickly, boom, in the pile. And then after I did that, I put my last piece in the pile, I stood there, I looked around to see if I missed anything. And it's really interesting because now I see about 5 or 6 more. They're not as big as the first 5 or 6, but they're big enough that I noticed them. So I go, okay. So I start going around and I pick them up. And now, of course, I can hold 2 limbs, 2 pieces of wood in my hand or a tree in my hand or 3, and I can start doing a lot more because the pieces are smaller. And then before you know it, 6 pieces turn into 10 pieces. And I go, oh, wow, my backyard is getting really clean. I mean, I got a million leaves, of course, because it's October 8th. I'll get to them. I already got to them twice. So I'm trying to do it during this week when I get home from work, but I got to tell you, I'm at the beginning of a schedule change where I'm scheduled to come in at 3 o'clock every day. So I'm coming in anywhere between 2 to 4 hours earlier day, even more than 4 hours than my previous schedule. I selected it. I had the seniority. It was available. I selected it. So I'm trying to do something new with my life, and that's to start work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is really difficult for me at this time. So normally, I would just get out the lawnmower and just start tending to the property. Time clock be damned. But with this 3 o'clock start time, I'm finding right now I don't have that time. I got to get myself ready, and I got to get on the road, and I got to get to. That's why I got to get to work. That's why I lazily went to McDonald's and got myself a coffee, because I just wasn't up to making coffee in my house. It was so much easier just to go to McDonald's, which I don't like doing. Because it's lazy. It's not pragmatic as far as I'm concerned. To a certain extent it is. And now I have this coffee cup and this coffee lid, and I'm contributing to the garbage, to the pollution of the world. And I don't like that either. I'd rather just use my own coffee cup, which is recyclable, reusable, because I clean it. It's, ceramic or whatever. So it's all connected. It's always all connected. Everything you do affects something else. Action, reaction. So, cause and effect, all that good stuff. So now I'm picking up 10 pieces. Smaller, more manageable. I take them, I put them in the wood pile, I stand there, I go, Yep, looking good. But it's really interesting. It's almost like I'm in a Bewitched episode. For those of you who are old enough to remember the beautiful and wonderful, vivacious, fantastic. Not as much as Barbara Eden. That's a great question. Barbara Eden, Elizabeth Montgomery. You know what? I don't want to do comparisons. All right, just if you feel like it, if you're up to it, did you have a preference? I Dream of Jeannie or Bewitched? Did you have a preference? Barbara Eden, Elizabeth Montgomery? Now, I said preference. I didn't say who's more beautiful. Because Elizabeth Montgomery was beautiful in her really, not in her own way, in a way. She was beautiful. Elizabeth Montgomery. Barbara Eden was also quite beautiful. I think she was dreamier. We never really got to see Elizabeth Montgomery be like a sex symbol type of person. I don't think she ever went that route. Barbara Eden didn't either. You know, that, these actresses, you just don't look at them and think sexy. I mean, they are sexy. You look at them, you think great actress, good actress, comedic actress, and, one's Jeannie and one's Bewitched. Anyway, I digress. So now I look in my backyard and, I'm in a Bewitched episode because now I see a lot more. So I go back, and they're smaller, but I see them. So anyway, you get the drift. Life is sort of like that for me. Big tree limbs, you think everything's great, you put them away. Then smaller tree limbs, you spend some time, you didn't see them, and go, I didn't see them before. Pick them up, put them in the pile. Next thing you know, even smaller pieces. And of course, if I spent another 10, 15 minutes in my backyard, I would have picked up 20 more smaller pieces, and then what would have been left are all the leaves. So it's always something in my backyard. No deer dung, by the way, which is interesting. I've only had very little deer dung in 2020. I know everybody hates 2020. I don't hate it so much. Nothing really changed for me except I lost my mom, which most of you know was not really all that traumatic for me. It not exactly a tragedy. And as much as it was unexpected, for me it was expected. Okay, so that's a little bit of life for me. All right, I'm doing the loop-de-loop here in Catskill. I'm going to pull over and pause this thing. I'm going to grab my coffee and get ready for the last 15 or 20 minutes of this show as we drive north to Rensselaer, New York. Did I do my mileage report? Let's do that. 88,023 miles. The Dodge Caravan has 88,023 miles. And I did say the date and the time. And it's a beautiful day. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunny day. Little breezy. I think it's like almost 60 degrees. But New York State, I got to tell you. And I was watching the Weather Channel before I pause and take this coffee and just kind of set myself up for the second half of this episode. The Weather Channel was talking about, or somebody was talking about all the fires in the West and all the hurricanes and tornadoes by the Gulf and the East Coast, the Southeast Coast, and they were talking about the droughts or the floods or whatever in the Midwest, in the farms and all that stuff. Whatever I was watching totally left out the Northeast. Totally left out the Northeast. Once again, I believe this might be the safest and one of the most beautiful. It's not the most beautiful place to live. We don't have the Grand Canyon. We don't have, the Yellowstone. We don't have a lot of things. But you'll live pretty safely here in the Northeast. I mean, if you live in New York City in certain areas, there's crime. Yeah, there is crime. It's still crime, and maybe now even more crime than ever before because of, what's going on with the COVID and the rioting and the craziness and all that stuff. But upstate New York, pretty safe. All right. One of the things I want to get to, that was a nice little break for me. I needed that coffee. I still have it right here. It's really not that bad, but you got to have McDonald's coffee right away. You can't have it later on. It just, whatever the chemicals are in here that are simulating the taste and look and possibly the smell of coffee, because I don't really believe these are coffee beans I'm drinking. I really believe I'm drinking something, scientifically engineered to be coffee. And this apple pie is also the same thing. It's all just a big science experiment, and you have to eat it right away. It's not designed to last. It's designed to be consumed before you get to the next traffic light or the next throughway exit or whatever. Anybody, I think, that orders McDonald's through the drive-thru, you got to be able to relate to that, right? It never lasts to whatever destination. It's always like, yeah, I'm just going to open this bite. I'm going to, I won't make a mess. And before you know it, you got lettuce all over the floor and some sesame seeds, and you've consumed it. And then you go, wait a minute, was that beef? Was that meat? That was chicken? Wait, that's fish? Why is it everywhere else I go in the world, beef, chicken, and fish never taste like that? And not even like in a good way. It's like, it doesn't taste like that. Like when I go to these other places, it actually seems like beef, seems like chicken, seems like fish. Here it just seems like feed, like it's some sort of feed that they put into a blender, they grind it up, and they package it like a hamburger. But you know it's not beef. You know it's not like a hamburger. It's not chicken. It's not fish. The fillet of fish, that's not fish. Anyway, I digress again. This is the episode of digression. All right, so let me read this post, this Facebook post of a friend of mine. I think we're still friends. High school friend. Not going to mention his name. I haven't seen him in 10 years or so. And before that, I hadn't seen him in 20 years. So just to give you an idea of how close we are in our friendship. I know he doesn't listen to the show. As do 99.9% of my friends don't listen to the show. Friends from high school, friends from the neighborhood is what I mean when I say friends. So, this is what he wrote last week or 2 weeks ago. Actually, he says this September 28th. He has a whole bunch of these posts. And I'm not reading his posts to embarrass him. I'm talking about implicit bias. I think that's the word, implicit bias. I'm talking about not living pragmatically, not being emotionally stable, not looking for the facts, and just being so overly sensitive that you'll come home from work, which I know he does. He's exhausted. He's been doing it for 100 years, just like me. And this is how you spend your free time, which to me is totally not pragmatic, because where's the joy? That's how I want to live. So if I could make a list of my pragmatism, which I've discussed here over the last couple of years on this, what is pragmatism? Well, I'm not like one of these Tony Robbins religious gurus. Not that he's religious, but you know what I'm saying. I don't have, this is pragmatism. Boom. I've always said pragmatism is whatever works for you. Pragmatism is different for me than you. And I know that I don't always use the word correctly. I'm just a barely high school graduated truck driver, middle-aged obese man, a non-practicing Jew who didn't have a childhood where a father and a mother would indulge him and pat him on the back and say, good boy, good job, and let us educate you. Because they were illiterate and uneducated themselves. So there was nothing for them to share with me. Although my mother could have taught me how to cook more, my father really could have just spent time with me. And he could have let me teach him. But whatever, that's not the way it went. So I read these posts and I go, wow, why are you so worked up about? What is it that drives you to the point where you're willing to post things? And by the way, to be 100% fair, which I always am on the show, at least I always try to be, because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and they are very unfair, very biased. And I'm just not that way, because I'm in the middle. I look left and I look right, and I don't see the truth there. I see the truth down the middle. And that's what I always say, right? Okay. So here's the post. September 28th. And this was a 57-year-old man, a man I went to high school with. So the New York Times has reported that Donald Trump has not paid taxes in 10 to 15 years and has used questionable loopholes to make this possible! Exclamation point. Not even a period. To make this possible? To make this possible! Exclamation point. Where are the IRS audits for this? A billionaire that doesn't have the financial problems most of us have and wants to continue being the president? Exclamation point. If you are a Trump supporter, how do you feel about him now? How many passes should a president get before finally being held accountable for screwing up and judged by the same letter of the law that the rest of us Americans are? Question mark. I sure hope common sense rules the day on November 3rd. God bless America. So, listen, just because the New York Times writes something, and for that matter, to be 100% remain neutral, any publication prints something, that's a reporter. We don't know that reporter. We don't know the age of the reporter, the education of the reporter. We don't know anything about that reporter. Also, the reporter works for an editor, right? And by the way, I know nothing about the newspaper business. But you know where I'm going with this, I assume. This is all about selling soap. This is all about instilling fear. And it would be the same if this article, every time it said Donald Trump, it said Barack Obama or whatever. This is what I would say. This is what I have said. It's a publication to pique your interest and get you to buy the paper, which, by the way, we all know printed publication circulation is way down. Websites are way up. Publications printed are way down. Circulation's way down. So we have to start printing everything and anything to get people to read it and pay attention. I haven't bought a newspaper probably in 10, 15 years. When I drove a bus, I used to. But I had some free time. I could sit there and read. And I was on a different schedule. I was on a daytime schedule. This nighttime schedule, I ain't reading anything. Forget it. So, where are the IRS audits for this? Yeah, that's a good question. There are IRS audits. He's been audited. I'm sure he gets audited every year, if not every quarter. He's probably got a team of people. In fact, I was talking about this with my buddy Mark last night. How many people do you think it takes to do Trump taxes? And really, I'm not appreciating your cynicism, and I'm not appreciating your sarcasm. I'm just telling you right now. I don't appreciate your cynicism, I don't appreciate your sarcasm, and I don't appreciate what you think is a sense of humor. I don't appreciate your memes, whoever you are. I don't appreciate it. That's not what I'm doing here. I had a conversation with my buddy Mark last night. It's like, wow, I wonder how many people it takes to do not only Donald Trump's personal taxes, if there is such a thing, but Donald Trump's Trump organization, Trump Casino, Trump, whatever he's got, whatever his businesses are. And are they working for him, or does he hire a company and then they just handle everything, which is my guess. And my guess is he might have one or two, so all I can do is guess. But my guess is this: it's a team. And I'm 57 years old. I've known of Donald Trump forever. So Donald Trump is a man in his 70s. And I like to think that if he was going to be cheating on his taxes, by the way, and I do respond to this post, I should read that, he would have been caught by now. There is a huge difference. I'm going to read my post instead. Okay, 23 minutes. I'll read this post, and then we'll be just about done with this episode. Let me see if I can find it. And by the way, this guy, this friend of mine, posts things like this all the time. I could do a whole show just responding to his posts. He'll never know because he doesn't listen to the podcast. Nobody that he knows that I know listens to the podcast. And I never mentioned his name. There's no embarrassment. I'm just reading his post. So here's my response to his New York Times, reference post. I wrote, "I'm no genius. I know nothing about being a billionaire and paying taxes." See? Very humble. Very open. I'm just telling you right now. I don't know anything. I barely know about being in my own financial situation and paying taxes. See what I did there? Create a little buffer zone, letting you know I don't know anything. I'm just letting you know I don't know anything. Because I'm not one of these guys that post, I know everything. I ride on an even keel. I know everything. Go Trump, Republicans, conservative. Or the extreme of that, just change everything to liberal, Democrat, whatever. I know everything. I'm so sensitive. I'm so woke, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I haven't read the article. Again, more honesty. I haven't read the article. If I did, I probably wouldn't understand one word of it either. See? I'm very good at this. I still remain modest and humble. I'm just a barely high school graduated truck driver. All that being said, I find it hard to believe he's paid zero taxes for that long. That is true. I find it impossible There's no way. There's no way in the world he pays zero taxes. I don't believe that it's even possible. But if he did, in fact, get away with it, then that's another story. That's another post. That's a different situation altogether. Honestly, ... if I could find a way to pay zero taxes for the last 10, 15 years, I would. I think many Americans would as well. So I pose that to you again, ladies and gentlemen. I don't appreciate your sarcasm. I don't appreciate your cynicism. I don't appreciate your memes. If you could pay zero taxes for the last 10, 15 years or for the next 10, 15 years, would you? If you could find a way, a legal way to do it, would you? Of course you would. If you could work within the system and you could pay zero taxes, wouldn't you? Of course you would. I think many Americans would as well. One last thing. There's tax evasion, then there's tax avoidance. A big difference. A huge difference, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's like hot and cold. Tax evasion is not tax avoidance, and vice versa. It's two different things. That little I do know. I actually took a tax avoidance class many years ago. That's true, folks, and I even have the paperwork to prove it. I took a continuing education class at Ulster County Community College. I don't know how many years ago. It was all about tax avoidance. And you know what? The guy was very clear. I really thought, okay, I'm going to pay $35, and this is going to be a waste of 3 hours. It's going to be a scam. It's going to be a come on for something else. But then I thought, really, would Ulster County Community College really support something like that? Turns out it wasn't. He was selling nothing. Not a book, nothing. He was just teaching tax avoidance. Basically, you set up a business and things are tax deductible. That's, in a nutshell, that's what it is. So, I'm no expert on any of this. I'm just saying, pragmatically speaking, I doubt there's tax evasion here. Probably tax avoidance. If the IRS was going to audit anyone under suspicion of illegal tax preparation, I would think Donald Trump would be at the top of the list. Just my humble opinion. Truly a humble opinion. So, there you go. That was my post. I think that's very fair. And then, of course, he writes back, who knows? And if it wasn't the POTUS, I don't think most would care because that's the way it is in this country, my friend. That's right. If it wasn't the president, we wouldn't care. If everything was legit, we wouldn't still be talking about this nearly 4 years after his inauguration. You don't put people like this in the White House, and you certainly don't let them stay there. More importantly, whatever does it say about folks who are thinking about making the same mistake twice? He said a lot there. And I wrote, I don't know what it says. Because I at that point, I was so tired. We were both tired. It was late at night. I don't know what it says. We're not going to solve any problems in this thread. But I bet if every senator, congressman, mayor, governor, alderman, councilman, and whoever is elected and appointed to a government position was audited and under the same scrutiny as the president, is there'd be some surprising news about who's evading taxes. This news item doesn't really concern me. And I put ... in capital letters at this time. If and when there are facts that I can understand, and it states without any doubt and uncertainty that there's tax evasion, then I'll be interested and concerned. Until then, I owe, it's off to work I go. And then he got fed up and he wrote, forget about taxes then. I guess his original statement regarding COVID was just bad advice from his top-notch medical experts. Need more convincing about that too? Nevertheless, it's too late to discuss politics. Stay safe and awake out there on the road, man. I wrote 99. So, there's a cordial conversation. It wasn't going to stay cordial for too long. I don't think so, you know?
Time is running out.
Yes, it is.
Don't go over.
No, I won't.
It disrupts everything.
I know.
How much time do you have left?
About 40 seconds.
Are you wearing your glasses?
I have them right here, actually. Yes, I do. Thanks for asking. Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate that. Well, there you go. Episode 261. And we're working our way towards 300, which I hope I'm prepared for one day, but I just don't think I will be, as I wasn't for 100 or 200. But I really appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to engage and call the hotline. All right? Don't forget. 3477 I am dumb. 3477 I am dumb. That's 347-746-3862. Leave a clean message. Maybe we'll play it on the air. No profanity. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dumbing It Down with Dave. Goodbye, good day, good night, good luck, good riddance, good rats, Godspeed, and great skills. Take care. We'll see you next episode, guys. Thanks a lot. Leave a comment. Bye.